Let's talk quickly about the picture of movement versus the connection of movement. Now, I think the best way to illustrate this is kind of to tell you how it plays out in real life and then kind of go from there. So, generally, when we have a certain picture in our mind of what movement is like or how we move, we can have a disassociation between that and how our body is actually moving. This is best seen when um, you think of getting back into fitness or getting back into exercise, you really picture yourself moving how you used to move maybe 5 or 10 years ago. Or if you're getting back into a sport, you realize or you think that you're capable of doing the exact same thing you could do 5 years ago because the picture of movement is still strongly in your mind and seems very real up until you actually perform the movement. If you remember yourself being able to run quite quickly and then miss your bus and then have to run after that bus, maybe 5 years after that original experience, then you'll see that it's a lot more tiring, a lot more strenuous on the heart and lungs than you remember. And this is quite shocking to the person because they've strongly identified with the picture and not the connection. Now, the connection is the reality of what happens when you realize you've done the action and the outcome is completely different. We can say this is uh, further understood when we look at how we think of movement. When we think of movement from a picture standpoint, it's very perfect. It's easy to do because in our mind we know how it's done, we can visualize it. However, when we go to do it, the mechanics aren't actually realized. We can't jump as high as we used to, we can't run as fast as we used to, and this is because we stopped giving the appropriate information to the muscle in the way of experience so that it's timid of doing such or it lacks the kind of mm, positive adaptations of the stimulus. So, for example, when it comes to running heart lung things, there are adaptations that the body creates. It creates more mitochondria, it creates more better blood flow, it creates a stronger pump from the heart, it creates greater lung capacity. These things are physical things that change in your body to allow um, the overcoming of the challenge of the running, of the jogging. Now, these things go away when there is no demand, and this is why they say move it or lose it. But more than that, there is a connection with how the movement comes about. There's a certain kind of education gained by experience versus gained by procedure. Exercise can be procedure like as opposed to experience based. And this is why we think of now the restorative aspect of incorporating the right side of the brain when it comes to exercise prescription or doing exercise. It is about the experience. So, what we want to do in this approach is to create the ability of the muscle to take in the most amount of information and for the brain to be kind of looking for the experience versus the process in kind of disconnecting from the process, we can live more in the experience. Experience is kind of like, for example, you're in the car driving to work and you hear a song that you haven't heard for years. And it reminds you of a time of your life where you had a very great time. And when you hear this music, you just want to move, you want to dance, you want to sing along, you want to do something. This is kind of the experience. The muscle can go through a similar experience, um, although it's a little bit different in the translation. Now, to be a little bit more appropriate to what the experience is like, it's more like when you hear of the athlete talk about being in the zone. This is an elite level of movement where a person can leave the left side of the brain and participate only with the right side of the brain. Everything is happening immediately. The person or athlete is taking in so much information so quickly at the moment that they can slow down or feel like they're slowing down time because they can see what's happening before it kind of happens and therefore just happen to be in the right place at the right time and be able to do the right movement at the right moment to get to the end goal. It's kind of a zoning in where you only see the ball or you only see what's happening next and you're not uh, particularly aware of the logical things happening around you. And you're moving through space in a very profound way. This is kind of what it seems like. So I really wanted to kind of explain the expression of this right side of the brain style of thinking when it comes to prescribing exercise, because I think it is going to be the key of bringing out the kind of inspiration for the person to do the exercise, to gain the benefits, to um, apply it to their life, to create an atmosphere of health surrounding them, and therefore impacting the people around them and being an example for health for their community.